So good afternoon, everyone. Those are my conflicts of interest. I also say that I'm highly biased in terms of the care of children. So that's another conflict that I'm going to announce. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about the UNAIDS Fast Track 95-95-95 goal. By 2030, people, not 2023, is unrealistic for children living with HIV. And by children living with HIV, I mean 0 to 14, under 15. Now, there's myself and Sadiq. I'm a pediatric HIV specialist. He's a PMTCT specialist. So we are coming at you from both directions, people. And I'm also going to announce we are debating for the motion, and we are supporting a new paradigm for pediatric HIV. We want to change the status quo. I just want to briefly introduce you to our opponents, who are, how should I put it, slightly more mature than we are. There's Prof. Dorothy, and then there's Mr. Kenley here. They are our elders, but respectfully, we would like to say that they need to agree to a fresh approach to doing things. So that's what we are going to talk about today. We might be young, and this is probably one of the few places where I'm one of the younger people, but we know what we're talking about, and we'll show you why. So you all know this quote, right? From Nelson Mandela, okay, how we should be treating children. So think about how we should be treating children with their own reality, according to the realities of children, okay? Now, there's this other one that I think is a quote that I will ascribe to every pediatrician. Children are not small adults. Children are not small adults. So let's treat children according to their reality. Let's treat children and set achievable goals for them. And then let's not set ourselves up to fail. What's the point in setting unattainable targets that we are failing over and over and over again? I've been doing this work for 13 years as a senior technical advisor for pediatrics. And when I'm sitting down to listen to our funders talk about setting goals, I'm waiting for them to just lambast me because I know I have failed year in, year out, year in, year out. I have never achieved any of the goals that have been set for pediatrics. So maybe it's time to rethink the way we are setting goals. So what are we talking about? We talked about 90-90-90 for 2020. We are in 2023. Some people are even talking about 2025 instead of 2030 for the 95-95-95 goals. What did we do there? We didn't make them. For the 90-90-90, we are getting to what? Look at the numbers we have for adults. Look at the numbers we have for children. And then look at the numbers we have for all people. You realize that if you don't pull the pediatric data out, you're going to think it's going fine, right? You're going to think it's going well for everybody until you look at the pediatric data. So why are we treating children like adults? Why are we treating children like all people? So what our point is that the timeline is too soon for the goals, and the goals are too high for the timeline that we are setting. And note that we've talked about 95-95 for different countries here. This is not just a global goal. Each country is different, and we've had different countries present on their goals and achievements. Some countries are doing well, some are not. So I want you to think about further context coming down to country. And note that we are not against the principles of the fast track goals. We are okay with the principles as listed in green here. We're talking about ambition, focusing on what works and what doesn't work. And what we are trying to tell you today is one of the things that's not working is the goals that we are setting. They are not appropriate, they are not realistic. So what we are actually speaking against is the level of the speed and the level of saturation for the timeline that we are talking about. So I call these children my constituents. Look at my constituents and think about the average adult and ask yourself if it is fair to be measuring children against the same targets we are measuring adults against. What is the reality we are ignoring? We are ignoring certain realities, and what are the realities we are actually facing for children? Children are not small adults. The determinants of health, and therefore the 95-95 for children, are not the same as for adults. We need equitable and achievable targets, not equal targets. We need equitable targets for children, not equal targets, because children are not adults. And we're making sure in all of that time space that children attain their full health potential. So in maintaining the current approach, we are ignoring the reality for children. We are ignoring children's reality, and that's not appropriate. We are not shortchanging them. We should be setting targets for them according to their reality. The fast-track targets are unrealistic, and might I say, even for adults, okay? But I digress. We're not talking about adults here. And then we talk about integrating implementation science into our HIV response. And implementation science heavily focuses on what? Context. And yet here we are ignoring the context for children. Are we really doing implementation science as far as children are concerned? So, last but one slide here. We actually went through, Sadiq and I went through, we did a lot of work on this. We went through a lot of data, 10 years of data, 2010, 2015, 2020. And you can see at the first graph there, West and Central Africa is lagging behind, and West and Central African children are lagging behind, and children are lagging behind adults. That's telling you that we are not measuring people by the same yardstick. Look at the second 90. We have 98, we have the first graph showing 98% achievement for the second 90 for children in West and Central Africa. This is UNAIDS data. It's out there in the public. Clearly, it is wrong. If you are implementing programs for children, especially in West Africa, you know that it is wrong. And then look at the last circle there, comparing global children to global adults. It cannot be that much higher in children and adults. This point is to tell you that the data we are using for these targets, and even for assuming the achievements, is erroneous and fraught with errors. That's a spectrum-based data, and we need to reevaluate that in addition to the targets we are setting. And then the last one is showing you issues with the third 90, where even if the data is correct, you can see children are again lagging behind. So main points, West Central Africa and children are lagging behind. Spectrum is not appropriate, it is not accurate, and we need to rethink the way we are doing things. Pace of achievement is different, and so let's consider realities. So I'm going to end with two quotes. One ascribed to Albert Einstein, "What is insanity, people?" And then my quote from my grandmother. Thank you very much.
Very much.